Hi, boys and girls. We're going to do lesson 2 today. Today is Thursday, April 8th, and we're going to finish chapter 6, lesson 2. And it's more about what people came to Michigan. So let's get started. You're going to watch and listen to this, and then you'll do the questions on slide number 8. More people moved to Michigan. Think of this question while you read. What caused people to leave their home countries and move to Michigan? People from Britain, the third largest group here. The British are also called the English. This group is the third largest group in Michigan. There were many British in the first 13 colonies of our nation, or when our nation began. They left their mark on our country. Today, we speak their language. Our laws are based on British ideas. Most of the British started coming here about the time we became a state. This was in the 1830s. Oh yeah, statehood, 1837, remember? Memorize that date forever. The Erie Canal helped make this possible. The Irish, the fourth largest group here. The year was 1845, and it was a bad one in Ireland. There was a disease that killed their potato crop. We talked about this on St. Patrick's Day. Irish had very little to eat. The crop failure pushed them away. Many of them left their country. Often the Irish made their new homes in Detroit. They helped that city grow. Many Irish also settled along US 12. This area is now called the Irish Hills. Some Irish have become famous. One is Henry Ford. Henry's father was a poor Irish farmer. His name was William Ford. He came here in 1847, so 10 years after we became a state. Henry became one of the richest people in the United States. Great things are possible here. Frank Murphy also had Irish ancestors. He became one of our state's governors in the 1830s. Later, he was on the United States Supreme Court. The Polish, the fifth largest group here. Poland is a country in Europe. Foods are sometimes scarce there. At times, other countries attacked Poland. It made life difficult. Some Polish people wanted a safer place for their families. They came to the United States and to Michigan. A few Polish people have been here since the early times. The Godric family was here in 1762. They lived in Detroit. Most came much later. In Michigan, they often started farms. It was work they knew best. They moved to small towns like Branson and Posen. Branson was a Polish festival each summer. Festivals like this are a way to keep their heritage alive. People get together and eat Polish food and do Polish dances. Later, Polish people went to work in the car factories. They moved into towns like Hamtramck and helped it grow. They worked in the nearby Dodge factory. The Dutch and the freedom of religion. What if the government told churches what they could and couldn't do? What they could do and not do. Boy, I'm tough today. That is what took place in the country of Holland long ago. It may sound strange to us now, but long ago, governments often controlled churches. Some people in Holland didn't like this. They could not change the government, so they left. Some of them reached Michigan in 1847. They started a new town. They named it Holland after their country. Grand Rapids also has many people of Dutch ancestors. So does Zeeland. Dutch is another name for people from Holland. The Dutch came here to find freedom of religion. Who are some people in Michigan with Dutch ancestors? Walter Chrysler is one. He started the car company in the 1820s. He created many jobs for our workers. The Meyer family came from Holland. They owned the Meyer stores and built Meyer Gardens. Richard DeVos and J. Van Andel are also famous. They started the Amway country. And you can see that graphic on the bottom of that page 275, different ethnic groups all over our state. The Hispanic, a fast-growing group. This is a large group. It has people from many countries. Mexico is one of them. Mexico is a country just south of the United States. Most Hispanic people who live in Michigan have come from Mexico. At first, there were few Hispanic people here. As our state grew, it had more farms. Most farms needed helpers for the harvest. Farmers with fruit and vegetables needed many hands to pick the food. People from Mexico began to visit Michigan and help pick the crops. If you have ever tried it, you know that picking crops is hard work. By the 1820s, thousands of Hispanic workers helped with our harvest. Some brought their families and stayed. As time passed, they found better jobs. Miguel, I think it's Nurevo, worked in the salary fields. He earned just 60 cents an hour. His wife, Isabel, worked beside him. It took several years to find a good job. He wanted to start his own company, and in 1977, Mr. Nueva bought a building. He made tortillas and taco chips. He sold these to Mexican restaurants. The business became very successful. Miguel and Isabella are quick to encourage other Hispanics. He says, life has been a struggle, but there is no day that passes by that I don't thank the Lord. I thank him for every little bit I have. So this gentleman worked very hard and he was very successful. The next page, leaders, success in leadership and success in education. So there's a couple at the very top, Tony and Carmen Benivez. The Benivez family left Mexico in 1952. They came to Lansing. The parents set goals for their children. They must be honest, work hard, and have respect for others. They must take pride in themselves. They need to be part of the community. Tony was one of those children. He worked hard and studied hard. He harvested crops. He also worked in the grocery store to earn money. He completed his high school and college. He was in charge of a community center for many years. He also served on the city council. He was elected the mayor of Lansing. That was in 2003. When he was mayor, he had a goal. His goal was to make Lansing a family-friendly city. His wife, Carmen, also worked very hard. She went to college and became a teacher. Later, she was a school principal. And besides this, she was a mother of 4 children. People from Sweden at work in forest and mines. People from Sweden came to Michigan in the 1860s. They liked living in the Upper Peninsula. It was like their own country in many ways. It had many trees and lakes. It had much snow in the winter. And they began to work in our mines and lumber camps. There's a copy at the bottom of that page of the flag of Sweden. Okay, so you can see where Sweden is. People from Sweden moved to Michigan in the 1800s. They often settled in the Upper Peninsula. The scarcity of trees and copper in other places provided jobs here. The Swedish moved to towns like Ishpeming, Iron River, and Iron Mountain. They helped these cities to grow. Many Swedes still live there. People in Ishpeming are proud of Glenn Seberg. He became famous. Glenn worked as a scientist and won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1951. He got this prize for his work to help understand the atom, or the atomic bomb, probably. Which Michigan governor served the most years? It was William Milliken. He was our governor for 14 years. His family also came from Sweden. People from Finland. People from Finland also came to the UP. They began coming in the 1860s. The copper and iron mines gave them jobs. They also worked in the logging camps. Once again, work from the natural resources pulled Michigan to our state. They worked in cities like Hancock and Houghton grew. I read that wrong. They helped the cities of Hancock and Houghton grow. Learning was important to them. They started a college in Hancock. People of Arab ancestors. Michigan has the largest group of Arabic people. It had more than most states. They live in cities near Detroit. Dearborn and Southfield are examples. They helped these cities grow. Many of them worked making cars and trucks. Arabic people came from over 20 countries. Saudi Arabia is just one of them. People have moved here from Jordan and Lebanon. They have come here from Iraq and Syria. Each year, Detroit holds the Arab American Festival. People dance and eat. They listen to music. The festival preserves their culture. It's a time for them to remember their heritage. Many people living in the Arab world believe in the Muslim religion. However, quite a number of them living in Michigan are Christians. Spence Abraham is an Arab American. He grew up here. He has always been interested in government. He was elected to the U.S. Senate for Michigan. He was the only Arab American in the U.S. Senate at that time. I don't think there's a picture of him. We'd have to look him up. Maybe I can share that with you some other time. Casey Kasem's family came here from a small country of Lebanon. You may have heard of Mr. Kasem. He has worked in radio and television. For many years, he had a radio program. It had the top 40 songs. He also did voices of some of the actors on Sesame Street. Kasem wrote a short book, Arab Americans Making a Difference. A tough trip moving here years ago. It was not easy for families to move to Michigan. Sometimes the father came first to earn money to bring the rest. This is what Dwayne Toma did. He left Lebanon because there were few jobs there. He came to Dowagiac with his brother. Dowagiac is a city in the southern part of Michigan. He worked for 6 years and bought a small farm. He still did not have enough money to pay for his wife and children to come. His brother decided to help. They sent money for tickets to the United States. Mrs. Torma left in 1912. She and her children rode camels to the nearest seaport. They had a long ride on a ship to France. That was followed by a long train ride to another seaport. Was she afraid while she traveled? What was it like to be in a strange land? In France, they boarded a big ship. It sailed to Britain, or England, and then headed to the United States. One night, everyone felt a big jolt. Soon the engine stopped. What was the matter? The ship hit an iceberg and was sinking. Mrs. Torma had to find her children and get to a lifeboat. They made it, but many people drowned in the cold Atlantic Ocean. Mrs. Tama, was glad to see her family when she arrived in Dowagiac. You can read more about the Torma family in a book called Grandma Survived the Titanic by James L. Thomas. It's a true story. Okay, the Jewish. Elijah Solomon came to Michigan. It was 1761. He was a fur trader at Mackinac Island. Chapman Abraham was another fur trader in Detroit. Jewish people came here from many countries over the years. Jewish can mean different things. It can be a religion. It can be an ethnic group. Most Jewish people had ancestors from Israel long ago. Other Jewish families reached Michigan beginning in the 1840s. Emanuel Hansen's family lived in Detroit. They gave clothes to help escaped slaves. Michigan had about 151 Jewish families during the time of the Civil War. Out of those families, 181 men joined the army and they fought against slavery. Incredible groups of people. All right. And the last one. Albert Kane was an architect. An architect builds buildings. During his life, he became famous. He was known for his car factory designs. He also designed other buildings. Most of his work was done from 1820s to the 1830s. Some people from Jewish heritage have been politicians and judges. Charles Levin was a member of the state Supreme Court for many years. Carl Levin has become a U.S. Senator for Michigan for many years. People from Japan. These Japanese people, or some Japanese, moved to Michigan after the 1900s. One of these was, and I don't know how to say his name, Minoru Yakasami. I think that sounds right. He was an architect. He worked in Detroit designing buildings. People liked his design and he became famous. Yamasaki's best known building is the World Trade Center, or was the World Trade Center, because remember it's gone now. But it's in New York City. You could be at a mall and you may see Japanese people shopping. You may know that they moved to Michigan to manage car parts and companies. Some Japanese companies are now in our state. So there's lots of different groups and different jobs and careers and ways of life in our state. The very last paragraph on the next page. There are more groups. These are only a few of the groups who make our state great. There are many more groups you can study. The people have moved here, did much to help Michigan grow. They started farms. They cut lumber. They mined natural resources. They built highways and worked in our factories. They have been teachers. They have been mayors, judges, and lawmakers. They share their cultures. They made Michigan a more interesting and better place to live. All right, boys and girls. You're going to go to this slide. It gives you a map, and it asks you to do two things. It wants you at the red box to name 3 countries in step 3. So let's read through the directions. Use the map below. Find 3 countries people left to move to our state. Put an X on them. So you're going to move these X's to different places over here. And then you're going to take the arrow, next take an arrow and make it from one of these countries over here to Michigan. So you're going to find Michigan on the map over here. For each arrow, write the name. So that wasn't possible to do. So what we want you to do is name those 3 countries in this red box. And then go ahead and answer the rest of those questions. All right, that's all for now.